Hi, I'm Phil Aston, and this is Now Spinning Magazine. Hi, Phil Aston here from Now Spinning Magazine, and welcome to a very special series celebrating the 10th anniversary of one of the UK's and one of my favourite bands, I'm going to say of all time actually. Across 6 episodes, I'm going to be sitting down with founder members Steevi and Greg to explore each of their studio albums, album by album. I'm going to take you behind the scenes on this incredible musical journey. And I think we should start at the beginning with this one, Too Many Gods from 2015. Now, I know that a lot of people that watch Now Spinning Magazine have become ardent fans of the Cats in Space, but I also know that lots of you have yet to discover them. So I want to go back to 2015, but to where it all began, because I know, Greg, the band you were in, Maritz, was very much like an AOR type band.
Yeah.
So what was happening where you started to think you wanted to move away from that?
It kind of started when we got back together again, because Maritz obviously was an 80s band and we kind of all fell back into each other's kind of company by accident almost, and we decided to do the album that we never did back in the day. We only ever did an EP. So we did this AOR album. It was good. It was very low budget and low key, and it did all right. And then a couple of twists of fate during the mastering of the album. My partner Marty, who was kind of managing the project, he said, I bumped into your old mate Ian Capel down at Yellowfish Studios in Lewis. I'm like, you're joking. So I go mosey on down, met up with Ian again after all these years, because we did stuff together with If Only back in the 80s. And we just got talking and said this. I said, we're putting Maritz and doing this album, blah, blah. And we decided to do another album that became the SOS album at Yellowfish. So we all kind of invested in the album. And Ian engineered and produced it, and it was a really, really good album. But it became apparent as we was doing it, even at that stage, there was a couple of songs on that album. One was called Remember Yesterday, and another song called Flying Too Close to the Sun, one of the last tracks on the album. And it was getting far removed from the Maritz AOR sound, and I really wanted to go down this route. The band knew that I was steeped in the 70s and wanted to do that anyway, but that became the catalyst of what became, me teaming up with Steevi and putting together.
So that song, I Remember Yesterday, was, as you said, the catalyst of this new direction. Was it like a light bulb moment where you thought, no, this is where I want to be going? It
was the first time that a song that had gone from my head and got finished exactly how I had it in my head. It was the first time it had ever happened. I thought, I'm meant to be doing this. It was quite obvious at that point. And that kind of became the catalyst. And when we started writing more songs that became demos for what was going to be another album, there were 2 camps. We were all very amicable. No one fell out. We were all good mates. But I came up with a song that was called Kingmaker, and it was quite clear this was not going to ever be a Maritz song, and it sounded like John Miles, so we shelved it. And we even worked on a very early incarnation of Scarecrow, and the band were going, Greg, gone too far, this isn't for us. I went, no, I think we're going to have to part ways a little bit here. And Kingmaker became the greatest story never told. And that was all it needed.
Steevi, did you, when you first heard the demos for what became, Too Many Gods, did you think this is going to be a totally separate project? And were you seeing like a different direction?
Not quite, not straight away, no. There were obviously elements of the demos that, Paul sang a couple of them, and I think he was singing. Paul's got a fabulous voice.
Yeah.
But I think the angle he was coming at that point was more, I want to say, Ronnie James Dio, the gravelly.
Yeah.
And I just thought, it's just going down the same old route for me, 80s metal, not for me. And then I thought again, I said to Greg, how adaptable is Paul? He said, mate, you can do anything. And I said, do you mind just seeing if you'll reshoot that? It was Too Many Gods. Reshoot that with more of a, I hate to say, Elton-y, Freddie kind of, he went, And then, oh my God, Gods came back. Paul had sung it in fact, Paul had sung it in his voice rather than this metal voice.
Trying to be.
And it just blew me away. And I said, Greg, we've got something here. We've absolutely got something. And that was almost that was the blueprint now. So every other song that came from there onwards had that same joyous, bloody hell, Paul's brilliant. Paul's really bringing this. And Greg said, well, we need all of us to be like this. If we're going to make this work, we need 6 of us to create this sound.
And
so
then you could see it being like a band and not just like a one-off project.
We would start building it, and that's what happened.
I mean, it was a studio project. Obviously, Mick Wilson, I wrote Mr. Heartache with Mick. That was the very first song. But that was going to be for Mick Wilson's second solo album, which ended not coming out. So Mr. Heartache was in the background.
Yeah, I didn't hear that. I heard God's way before.
Oh yeah, Heartache wasn't nothing to do with Cats in Space.
Anywhere near it,
No, so we had God, Stop, Unfinished Symphony, and Schoolyard Fantasy, I think, were the early songs. Greatest Story at that point was still called Kingmaker, still sitting there to be dissected. Yeah. So as time went on and we started doing stuff down at Yellowfish Studios, and Dean came in, and then Jeff and Andy Stewart obviously was with us, we were kind of going that way, and Mick and me had co-written, several of the songs by then. Only in Vegas, Man in the Moon was one we did early on, and a song called Scandalous, which ended up not being on the album. And then we had 5 Minute Celebrity, and I think that was a song where we went, Paul's vocal on 5 Minute Celebrity. It's like, we got a bit of the Who going on here. This is fabulous.
Yeah.
And then right at the last knock-ins, we were sitting there, and we were one song off, and Mick one day said, why don't you use Mr. Heartache on the album? I went, because it was a little bit out there, because it was a Mick Wilson demo, so it was a little bit different from the demos we started to do in Yellowfish. I went, do you mind if we have that? He said, yeah, well, I'm not going to do nothing with it. It's not going to happen anytime soon. So we took Mr. Heartache, and obviously then Steevi puts the drums on, and it becomes what became our sound, and we started overdubbing a few more guitars. And everyone just went, well, that's the first single. I mean, Mr. Heartache, that's Cats in Space. Everyone went, I can't believe that. That's like Supertramp, and no one was doing that. So that was kind of the catalyst to what the Cats in Space sound was.
Because you mentioned about talking to the vocalist about pulling back from the Ronnie James. Steve, did your approach to playing the drums change as the music changed?
Right, no, also we did have this thing where, again, let's stay away from the heavy metal, the not the heavy metal, but the rock cliche kind of
blueprint.
Yeah, let's think of this more, dare I say, power pop, which means basically being disciplined, only play what you need, play for the song, which every musician out there would know, that's tattooed on all of our hearts. You've got to respect what's going on musically, sonically, and if you do that, that's what happens. So all my flash chops, they're all there, and I'm thinking, no, I can't.
They were shelved for only a short time.
Weirdly, they snuck out a little bit on 5
Minute Celebrity, wasn't it?
5 Minute Celebrity, and a little bit, if you listen to the fade out on Greatest Story, the guns are out there.
Oh, the guns are out the end.
But we fade it right out so that but get the album, have a listen, you'll hear it all, but it's going nuts. Yeah. So there is a discipline that's running all through this album. We don't want to mess it up.
We kept it tight, didn't we?
Yeah.
But incidentally, the drums are a really key factor on Stop, which is, I love Stop, it's my favourite songs. Yeah. After the first chorus, we go there, stop, and there's this like dit, like a 2-bar pause. And I remember I said, you're going to have to put a killer drum fill in there. Diddly bang, back in. Swing the hell out of it.
Yeah.
And he just did it in one. He went, what, something like this? I went, this is why this band is going to be so bloody good. Because it was a musical drum fill. And I think we said every drum fill has to warrant its position, like a guitar break.
Yeah.
Nothing is lip service for what we do. Everything is maximised to say, if you're going to do that there, it's got to be something that almost people want to dance along to. You know?
Yeah.
So Stop was a really good example of Steevi kind of bringing out the chops, you know.
Yeah.
It's 2015, and you'd say there's a lot of rock bands that are all kind of like sounding and looking identical, really. This kind of started from the 80s and didn't really, a lot of rock didn't move away from it. So you've kind of now changed direction, but you've also, this is the best time to bring this in, you've also picked a name that, again, is completely separate from what you'd expect a rock band to call itself.
Yes.
Cats in Space.
Yeah.
I mean, because I can remember people started to find out about you and they were sending me messages saying, Phil, you got to check out this band called Cats in Space. And I'll be honest, I thought, Cats in Space? Is that kind of funny name for a rock band? Because it was unusual. It's not like rock bands have very specific words they put together to create their
Excalibur.
branding.
Yeah.
With swords and stuff.
Black Sabbath.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Concrete gerbil.
Yeah.
Concrete gerbil. Yeah, you can have that, anyone. And
But we're
Cats in
opening the
Space.
book of cliches.
Yeah.
What should the band be called? There it is.
Yeah.
Cliche. How should we write our songs like this? Otherwise, no one's going to listen to it. We chucked that book.
But
It's long
it
gone.
is a fact that you do actually like cats.
We love
and
cats.
And this is part
We
of the
adore
story,
cats.
isn't it?
We do.
How
We're
did the
absolute
name
cat fans,
arrive?
aren't we?
Well, Stevie's got. Originally, we was going to call the thing the Vanity Project, and I really liked that name because it was really pompous. And it was, don't forget, this is, as I've said many times, it was a one album, one shot
Project, yeah.
It, you know, scratching the itch that I personally wanted to do. But unfortunately, when you start doing that, and there's 5 other people's all going, "This is great," you're thinking this is going to have legs more than I thought it would do. So the Vanity Project wouldn't have worked. And also there's a band called the Vanity Project. So we sat in the pub one day and Stevie tells a story better than I do about how we came up with the name, but we were drunk at the time. I do remember saying, "What's in a name?" at the end of it. I said, "Well, Def Leppard."
Yes.
Not even the right spelling. Come on, chaps,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, yeah.
The
It's like-
Beatles.
the Beatles.
Beatles are crawl on the floor.
Led Zeppelin. You know,
Yeah.
Thin Lizzy. Every name is daft until it becomes part of your consciousness.
Even Queen.
Even Queen.
It's
I
a
mean,
silly
come
name,
on.
isn't it? King, Queen. It's just like,
Why were they called Queen? No one. Oh, because it's regal. Yeah.
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 And other things. You know, but after a while, they abbreviate names. Sabbath,
Yeah.
Purple, Maiden, Leopard, Lizzie,
The Cats.
the Cats. So it didn't really matter. All we wanted was something that was going to stick its head above the rock treacle, as we called it, the pond of treacle, where millions of bands are just doing this, and we needed something that goes, "What is that name?" It's a Marmite name, but Stevie's got a great story.
We
as to
still
why-
didn't have this name, but we you know, it was bubbling. I remember Greg ringing me one afternoon. I said, "Mate, you okay?" He said, "Just a bit down, mate. Lost my cat." It was
TC.
TC, wasn't it? TC.
Top Cat.
Top Cat. And you know, obviously, we chatted for hours and hours, and I didn't tell you that also my cat Jeff, female cat, had died a couple of weeks before, and we practically like met man grizzling on the phone. Oh mate, man grizzling. Anyway, and you know when you go to if you go to a grandparent's funeral or anything sad like that, everybody's sad and miserable, and there's one person in the room that says, "Guys, come on, Nan wouldn't want us to look at you all. Come on, she wouldn't want to see you like this." And then suddenly this little rainbow comes and everyone goes, of course, Nan, Nan. And everyone, because, that...
She's up in space looking down.
Yeah, because she's looking.
Yeah.
And I said, jokingly, and it just came out, and I said, "Oh, God, Greg, look at us two grizzling buddies here. Our cats are probably up there right now looking down and saying, look at those silly buggers down there, And we pissed ourselves laughing. We thought, that's so funny. And Greg sort of said, "What, like cats in space?" And we went, "Whoa, cats in space. Oh my God." And that, the fact that we
couldn't get past
that.
No.
But also, what the first thing that shot into my mind was all those fabulous legends, John Bonham, Bon Scott, Freddie, Phil Lynott. To me, those guys were the cool cats that are responsible for our
That kind of music.
The rock that runs through our bodies, that's part of those people. So rather than the heaven and, Nan's gone to heaven kind of vibe, it's more of a, when we lose someone, there's another cool cat in space. Mm. So I hope that answers any question.
And we were stuck with it. And we did say, we kept trying to get away from it, saying they'll abbreviate the cats. At one point, we had the name Cats, and in space was very little letters underneath.
Yeah, trying to work out which way to go.
And we just couldn't every time, because obviously me and Steevi do all the design work, and especially at this stage, we were concocting a brand. So we needed to be like Eddie from Iron Maiden or Kiss. We've got to have an emblem. But this, there you go.
That was the first emblem, wasn't it?
This is incredible, isn't it? Because again, what you'd expect rock bands picking specific type of names because they're worried about going too far out and making the audience not quite know what they're about. You've got the name Cats in Space. You then come up with branding that is just so perfect. And again, so not obvious with the kind of cliche metal imagery you see. Yeah. It's that the cat with a helmet on in space is just, I mean, did this arrive? Oh, it must have been. It's on the first album. So all of this was happening. All this creativity was literally, all the songs, the vision and the artwork was arriving in your heads.
Hence why the first track's called Arrival, because it was all arriving. And we said, well, it's that ABBA album. I went, that's even better. What better way to have a rock band with a cat pod with a silly name and the first track's an ABBA track called Arrival. It's like it goes against the grain of everything. But this is the Spinal Tap moment where they did Stonehenge on the napkin. Yeah. And he literally draws it out and in a minute goes, we do Stonehenge. The cat pod itself is on it. It was done on a piece of paper with a black felt tip pen. I've got the original. It wasn't
even a whole sheet of paper. It was a little corner of
So I did it and I thought, well, again, I'm giving secrets away, but I've actually got a piece of artwork at home that I did very rough. And I took Deceptive Bends, because obviously 10cc was a huge influence. And I thought, we want to have a diver in a spacesuit coming out the sea, but with that cat pod. So I kind of morphed this rubbish drawing together. Do you remember? Yeah. And I went, that's the album cover. We'll never get away with that. That is Deceptive Bends with a cat pod. But I sent Steevi the cat helmet. And I said, can you make this look better? Because I've done it like Hanna-Barbera cartoon, which again would have been perfect for where we were going with the music, that kind of Hanna-Barbera late 60s imagery. But Steevi said, I think people won't get that. That's a bridge too far. We need to try and make something a bit more IMAX. Yeah. He comes back about a day later and he says, I've had a play with this, see what you think. And he sent that back. I was like, oh my God. I said, we're going to make some quids out of that, mate. Yeah. And that's the T-shirt done and dusted. That's the album cover done and dusted. So that will be on everything we ever do. And
there's a perfect advertising space here, which we use very often for any plugs or...
But it wasn't a masterstroke, was it? I mean, you did it, and we did the 3 Deely Boppers, and the antenna, as it progressed, it became much more conceptual per album. But that literally was just stuck on the front
50s sci-fi kind of vibe.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, still at this point where everything's coming together, there's a quote here from Dean Howard saying, Gregster, you have to take this on the road. So the first rehearsals, you must have been buzzing with where you might be.
Well, he said that before we rehearsed, to be fair. Dean came down one day and Dean really loved Unfinished Symphony because it was a right rocker. And
it's a brilliant track.
Great track. I mean, it's a track that, to be fair, we should still be playing, but live, we just used to clatter the hell out of it. Do you remember? I remember doing it in Manchester once. I was going, God, this is a racket. But people thought it was great. But Dean's just listened to the playback of a rough mix because Ian Capel had done all his magic on it. And he went, oh my God, he said, this is the best thing I've ever been involved in. He said, Tapau, I had all the success with, but this, he went, Gregster, you've got to take this out on the road. And I just looked like that and went, oh no, I didn't want to do that. I'm a bit of a studio. I do love the studio.
Because you see the studio is like another musician, isn't it, in a way?
Yeah, I just saw a lot of money and a lot of expense. And don't forget, me and Stevie were financing the whole thing back then.
Yeah, of course, then.
We were breaking the bank. I mean, no one back then was launching a new band off their own back with no management, no record label, no agent, nobody. And we were shoveling 25,000 quid in to do what became the Gods album. We had a couple of very dear friends, one not with us, unfortunately.
Cool cat.
Cool cat. He financed the vinyl side. Marty Wells put some money in for the mixing side. People were investing in it.
Yeah.
And Dean just said, we got to take it on the road. I'm like, oh, mate, this is another load of money. So we said, well, what we'll do is, because that Yellowfish was a fantastic studio. It had a big live room where Gary Moore, funny enough, used to rehearse. So we said, we'll do a rehearsal up there in the big room and we'll just for a laugh go through a couple of songs and see if we can do it. So we trundled all our gear in, then comes the drums, the Marshalls, the keyboards. And we did Too Many Gods and a couple of others. I remember the minute Steevi counted Too Many Gods and we played the whole song through, perfect. No one said anything about backing vocals, and me and Jeff automatically jumped onto the 3 and 5 with Paul singing the root. We were like, what?
Yes.
So we got very excited because it sounded brilliant. Ian Capel was mixing something down in his studio around the corner. We said, Ian, come up and have a listen to this. And he was with David Paul-Freeman, our friend Mouth. They came up, sat him on a chair over there, said, listen to this, and we just took their faces off. I never thought you'd do that. I didn't think you could pull that one off. He said, what do you reckon? He went, unbelievable. You've got to take this on the road, didn't you? I went, there you go. And that's how it happened. So,
because your first gig was at the Half Moon, wasn't it? Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah. And I mean, what was that? Were you nervous about the launching the new project, or were you kind of?
There was expectation, wasn't there? Because Danny Bowes came down to see that. Because by this time, we'd had a meeting with Danny, hadn't we? And we said, he said, I don't know if you're mad or insane or geniuses, but I want to stick around and find out. I've got the popcorn, let's watch this go somewhere. And he, first of all, didn't want to manage us because he was managing Heap, and then things changed and things moved along. And he came down to see the gig, and he went, I'd like to come down to see whether you could pull that off live. And he said, it was great to hear his, because we were nervous and we didn't know from our point of view. We thought, yeah, great, we did really well, and all the music hacks were there, kind of like that.
Yeah.
And it was like doing a gig in London in the 80s where everybody goes, go on and impress me. They refused to clap. And my mate was in the crowd. He said everybody was going nuts. I think we were just in a blur of getting the gig done. And Danny said, I could see people's shoulders after the first half a song do that. Yeah, they're doing it.
They've got it.
Because there was expectation there, which we didn't really know till after the gig. And they said that you were on the rack there, and we pulled it off,
I mean, Unfinished Symphony, Greatest Story Never Told, Last Man Standing are some of my favourite tracks, and they all, you played those live. Were you surprised by how the tracks went down, how they connected with the audience? I mean, because I suppose what I'm trying to say is what I noticed when I first started to listen to the Cats in Space was the kind of joyous positiveness of the music and the diversity of it, that I didn't know what was going to come next, and I couldn't. Whereas a lot of people stream nowadays and they think, first 30 seconds, I know what that's going to do. Yeah. But with Cat songs, you don't. If you don't listen to the whole thing, it might halfway through, it might suddenly go left when you think it's going to go right. I mean, your music is
expect the unexpected.
Expect the unexpected. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're not doing stuff that's like Stephen Wilson. We're not. Some of our stuff is a little bit conceptual and stuff like that, obviously. But I don't know. I think, from my point of view, Last Man Standing being a good example, and Mr. Heartache being a good example, Man in the Moon being a good example, is like, play these songs to a rock crowd, especially when you're supporting, someone like Thunder or whatever, and you're going to suddenly go, din, din, dee, 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 like a Monkeys theme tune of Last Man Standing, going, they're going to throw things at us. And all we saw was people doing this.
Yeah.
I thought, you can't stop the beat. They might go all stuffy, go, this is what rock music meant to be, but you're singing it though, and you're enjoying it. So there's nothing wrong with enjoying yourself. Rock music is all about Dungeons and Dragons, and we've got to be fierce and miserable and, manly.
When did rock get angry?
Yeah, when did rock get angry?
Yeah.
Queen didn't do it in the 70s. No, they did good old-fashioned Loverboy, but it sat next door to Tie Your Mother Down. Everyone just accepted it. And I thought, why can't we do that? But people have got scared of doing it. In 2015, 2016, that's our remit was like, people are scared to open the gates up here and diversify within the context of one album.
I think so, and it was like a heavy metal band would think we've got 10 tracks and they're all going to be heavy metal. And if you put a
And no
ballad,
ballads.
no, if you put a ballad on, ooh.
Yeah, always
Whereas
risky.
your influence is like Electric Light Orchestra, and so many people love those bands, 10cc, Queen, Boston, and all these, But the other key signature of your music, which obviously I'm going to touch on as we go through all the albums, is the vocal arrangements. I've said this to you before, Greg. It's theatre for the mind, your music.
Theatre for the mind. There you go. Copyright that one, someone.
Yeah, because it's you've got so many. It's like they're like little mini dramas in your head with music. It's just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you're going to do vocals, do them big. Again, I'm everyone knows, or people that know me know, Queen and ELO and 10cc. These like massive vocal ranges. Like people don't do that, because they can't. And I just said, well, why can't they? Well, they're not good enough, or they don't know how to do it. Well, we were lucky because Mick Wilson is a vocal arranger. He's a genius when it comes to doing backing vocals, and he was paramount in the Cats in Space sound because we learned a lot from how you layer things up, and he would do that, and then we'd go, well, that sounds amazing, unbelievable. So when we all copy that, and you've now got 3 people singing every part of this, that, and the other. All of a sudden, you got 50 vocal tracks singing Mr. Heartache or something. And we thought, God, we can do this. Even Ian Capel said, he went, I've never recorded a band that can do this stuff. And you guys do it like you're just shelling peas. I said, well, I'm not blowing our trumpet. I just said, maybe we're just, good at doing it. The voices blend and, I haven't got a great voice, but it can back in vocal pretty well. And obviously, as we found out, we just had a great blend, and this is before Steevi started singing, because he sings nowadays as well, and we had so many voices doing these harmonies. It was just
I didn't need to sing, you see.
You didn't need to.
Because we had so many voices there. So I'm just throwing my
Throwing
bit in as well. Yeah,
it's very good. Yeah, it's very good. So how do you, looking back now, it's 10 years since this one appeared. When you look back at the album, how do you feel, both of you?
10 years, wow. It's like looking at one of our kids, isn't it?
It's like looking at a very expensive
child
thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it's 10 years ago, just alarmingly quick.
Yeah.
I think there's a naivety that even at our age when we did that, 50 years old, you can still be naive when you do your first album in what will be your final band that you'll never do it ever again. That was meant to be the last album ever, really. There was no plans to do anymore.
Because if you could go back in time and kind of give a message to yourselves back then, because you, as you say, you didn't know what was going to happen. What would you go if you could go back and say?
Don't do it. Don't ever go there. It's bad.
I know.
You'll get depressed.
I know what I'd say. We should have made it a double album.
We did when we did the Infinity edition.
Oh yeah, we did. We actually did. There you go. There we go.
So there's no stopping us.
Yeah.
I look back on that album I can just remember like it was yesterday, like being in Yellowfish and us all just thinking.
All sitting in the kitchen, drinking coffee, his legs swinging on the...
Yeah, just saying,
brilliant.
Who thought
we'd never met each other. We'd never met each other. Well, obviously I met you.
When did we meet? When did we all first get together?
The video shoot.
That was the
How
first time.
How does that work? So we've recorded, not remotely, we've all recorded at the same studio, but at different times.
We couldn't cope with each
different
other
parts.
Wow.
So we actually met when it was like, that's what you look like in real life.
Wow.
I've heard, I've played to, Jeff would have played to my drums or whatever, and you've gone, I did what you did, and I did, I followed you on that, and,
It's Unfinished Symphony. We were recording the video for that in the Yellowfish big room.
Yeah.
And everyone just turned up and just, ready then? Let's do the back, let's mime. Yeah. I mean, it was very, very bizarre. But no, the only reason we weren't all together, because the way that we do things, because it's quite it's a high stress kind of thing recording one of our albums. You can't put up with 6 people in the room. Ian Capel doesn't work with a lot of people in the room. So how the hell me and Ian Capel haven't murdered each other, I don't know. But so we're normally there. Steve is there, but there will never be more than 3 people normally because it's too...
Keep the airways clear,
Yeah, you need to concentrate and you need to focus and you don't want jibber-jabber going on. And 6 of us together were just jibber-jabber for England, so...
But going back to your question, I still look at that and think, that looks like we made it yesterday. A lot of old records, you can look at them and go, it still looks exactly the same as the day I bought it. Some look really ancient, don't they? An old Santana album or something like that.
Yeah.
Dog-eared Nick Carr, that's an old one. But that does...
It looks new still, doesn't it?
Yeah, this one looks very new still.
Well, because it's sealed, yeah. But it's still
that's from the archives.
It's still got its... It still feels like a young record.
There's people there going, God, how can we get hold of that copy?
Yeah,
That's the last...
That is the last... Well...
Yeah.
They sell for over 100.
But there is a box set coming out. Well, you'll be able to...
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, talk about that later.
Yeah.
But last question on this album. If you had to pick one track from the album that represents Cats in Space, if you had to... Someone says, I don't know anything about the band, what's the first album like?
Yeah.
What track would you pick?
Go on, Greg.
No, you go first. You go first. Have you got one? There's 2.
Where are we? It's so difficult.
It's so obvious.
I'd say, tactically, I'd say Greatest Story, just because of it's just an epic, monstrous track that will take you down a road that you'll never want to come back from. However, I'd say, professionally, I'd have to say Mr. Heartache, because that really did kickstart the whole thing, didn't it? And it got airplay. I think it was on Radio 2 a few times, Planet Rock. Yeah, all the big boys played it. So to hear that,
I remember when we sent Mr. Heartache out to the press. I remember it was in the August, I think it was, of that year, and the album came out a couple of months later. I think, I'm not sure. And I remember I went away and had a rare holiday for 5 days somewhere. The first holiday I'd had for 15 years. And I thought, when I go back, I know there's going to be people starting to hear Mr. Heartache, and I'm going to go, I might as well enjoy this holiday because it might be the last thing I ever do, And when I came back, I remember I've never been so nervous ever of thinking, what on earth is this? And the only person that had heard anything was Rob Evans, and I let Rob Evans hear Stop, Mr. Heartache, and one other song, I can't remember which one it was, and his email came back in 24 size letters. It just said, "Are you shitting me?" And I was like, I think he likes it. And he said, and he phoned me up. He said, "Oh my God, what is this thing you're doing? It's unbelievable." I said, "You wait, mate." Yeah. So that gave me a bit of confidence. And we were just sat there, didn't we, thinking, people like Metal Talk and all the online stuff. The guy from Australia, Sentinel, came back and said, "This is the best. This is just amazing." And I just thought, wow, we might have something here. But for my personal opinion, if you ask any of the Cats in Space fans, they'll probably go Too Many Gods, because it starts off every show. Yeah. It's a rocker. It's got all the Cats in Space trademarks in it. It hasn't got the over-the-top kind of conceptualness. It's just a straightforward 4-minute song or whatever. But I think you'll find that most Cat fans will say, just listen to Too Many Gods and tell me you don't like that band, But I would agree that Mr. Heartache,
definitely.
It did start it all.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Greg. Thanks, Steevi.
You're welcome, Phil.
And that's it for the first episode. I hope you enjoyed this fantastic look at the first album from Cats in Space. And huge thanks to both of you. And remember to check out Cats in Space at catsinspace.co.uk for merch, all sorts of merch.
Yeah, it's all
Lots of merch, CDs, vinyl albums, etc. And we'll continue on the next episode when we're going to look at Scarecrow, the album from 2017. So thanks for watching. I've been Phil Aston at Now Spinning Magazine at nowspinning.co.uk. Please take care. Remember, music is the healer and the doctor. Keep spinning those discs, and I'll see you on the next episode.
We running? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Time with partners in crime, we took a trip together, but that was so long ago, feels like a dream. Now
That's all right.